Welcome to my channel. I am Jonah MacTavish-Slaton, and today I'm going to show you a few pictures of where my maternal side of my family, my mother's side through my grandfather, came from in Scotland. This is a region in probably what we call mid-Argyll, in the west of Scotland, and their clan is the clan MacTavish, who stems from a marriage between an individual called Kilmichael and the daughter of Sween the Red, the builder of Sween Castle along Loch Sween, which is just to the south of this area, and this area is called Knapdale. And the area in particular of the clan would be called Dunardry, which means the seat of the High King, or the fort of the High King. Dun is fort, or and then Audrey is High King. Ard is high and Re is king. So Dunardry would be the place, the fort, the seat of the High King. And this would be the area of the MacTavish. So, starting off on this journey, these pictures were taken several years back, I believe 2018, 2017, 2018, which was my last trip to this area. And this is just a cool bridge going over the many lochs and waterways in Argyll. And there is Campbell Castle in Dunardry. Now this is the seat of the Duke of Argyll and the clan Campbell chiefs. Now, many people in historical aspect have said that the MacTavishes were a sept or part of Clan Campbell. This is false. And Patrick Thompson has proven this within his work of Clan MacTavish, that these may have well been brothers that started clans such as MacIver, MacTavish, and Campbell, but Tavish was not a member of Clan Campbell. But throughout the years, this was probably a cousin clan, and they did intermarry. And even outside of Clan MacTavish, in my own family, on my father's side, we have several clans, Campbells, that we married into along the years. So this is the castle there in Dunardry. It's a magnificent setting. If you ever get a chance to go and explore it, I'd highly advise it. Here's a little bit closer up shot of the castle. And this is walking down toward it. Now, on this particular trip, I did not go inside the castle. I just stopped and walked around the grounds. I may have to find some of the old pictures from the inside of the castle. Now, this is on the way to Kilmartin. Now, Kilmartin is very important. It's because this is one of the two kirks, or there's a kirk located there in Kilmartin. This is one of the two kirks that has a vast amount of MacTavish burials, graves. And you can see also the Gallaglass X, the aspect of the Gallaglass in Norse Gaelic culture in this area. This is one of the hotels I've stayed at over the years, and it's Kilmartin Hotel. This is the actual village of Kilmartin. Not very much to it. It's got the kirk, it's got the hotel and a pub and a few houses. Very small village. Now this is the church at Kilmartin. And this is one of the graves, slabs. There's a lot of these slab stones found throughout the graveyard. It's very amazing. But if you look close, you will see some of the MacTavish and Thompson symbols, such as the boat, and there is the stag. So on almost all of these slab stones are this is boar heads, or the ship, or the stag, and it's on the crest symbols. Now most of this is worn down so you can't see, but obviously these are slabs of MacTavish and their cousin Campbell's. I find it amazing, the intricate detail, and all the symbols have meaning to the MacTavish family and clan. This one's almost completely faded, but this is a knight or a Galaglass warrior. This grave is from around the 13th century, I believe, 13th or 14th century. This is a grave of MacAlphin that was the spouse of Alexander MacTavish. Now, Alexander MacTavish is a direct descendant of the very first MacTavishes, and this man is a distant cousin of my family. Another picture of the church there in Kilmartin that I took. This is more MacTavish graves. This is Donald MacTavish. And you'll notice that the spelling is sometimes M-A-C and sometimes it's M-C. And up close of Donald MacTavish. He died in 1811. He was just 38 years old. There's me standing beside Donald MacTavish's grave. These are cousins of the family, you would say. Now this is the open slab, and I really think this slab should be covered up because it's, you can see a lot of the wear and tear, and then if you see the fungus or the little spots growing all over it. But this is really cool because you can see that in this, if you look down at the picture, there is a symbolisms. And so in this area, in this long grave, are several different graves. And several of these guys are MacTavishes, some of them are MacDougalls, some of them are Campbells. And I would probably say some of them would be Sweens or McSweeneys as well. But this is very old. This is back in like I said, the 13 and 1400s, maybe even the 1200s in some of these. But this is what we would typically think of the Norse Gael warriors and the Galaglass from Argyll. This is zoomed up on it, as you can see. You see this, the Mac and the T and the AM and so forth. The stag was very important. You'll see a lot of stag or boar heads on most of the crest in this region. And then you have the Celtic knots running down this sword. Now look at the size of that sword. This is a huge sword, and you can see it on the warrior. Look how long the sword is. This is a massive. This is what we call a claymore sword. It was used by the Scots, and it may have been introduced by the Norse Gaels, the Galaglass Scots. This huge sword. Swords before this were much smaller. William the Wallace, the most famous user of this sword, perhaps made the claymore famous. But as you can see in the picture with the Celtic knots, is a claymore, and then this massive sword, over half the size of this warrior knight's body, and then he's holding some type of spear. There I am checking it out. Not sure how many graves are there, but if you count the slabs, there's 6 slabs, and then there's middle slabs, so there could be 6 to 7 graves here. I'm not sure. But this is some of the most magnificent grave slabs that you'll ever come across. So if you're ever in Kilmartin, stop by the kirk there, the church there, and this is incredible. Just standing there in this graveyard gives such a immense feeling of nostalgic mysticism, just knowing that this is where your ancestors were, and they were buried here within this graveyard. They fought many battles with against the Norse Vikings, sometimes with the Norse Vikings, probably fought along the side of Somerled, and then all the way through, you know, the clan wars themselves, and into the Scottish War of Independence. Some for Robert the Bruce, some against Robert the Bruce. Here's another grave, and you can see that this is an Alex MacTavish, and sometimes for some reason the T is changed to a C. Instead of Tavish, it's Cavish. Here's another angle of this slabs. And like I said, I believe this should have a canopy over it. I know that it would be such an eyesore and would be such an ugly thing to do in this graveyard. But I think eventually, I mean, I know this has lasted for, you know, these graves are between 800 and 600 years old, but, you know, eventually with the climate and acid rain and everything else, the pollutants in the sky, eventually these graves will deteriorate. Here's a grave from 1788, and this is a Don MacTavish. You see the MC instead of the MAC. So even as early as the 1780s, you see that the MAC is being abbreviated as MC. Here's a grave of the McCullums. The McCullums and the McDougals. Now, the McDougals and McCullums, they would marry into this family several on. The interesting thing is that my great-great-grandmother, my father's great-grandfather, was a McDougal many years later, and we're talking about the 1800s, that still the families were intermarrying, such as into the McGregor and the Greers and the McDougals and so forth. Here's a close-up of Duncan MacTavish. And there's me standing by Duncan MacTavish's grave. Now, Duncan is a very, very important name, first name. Many of the clan chiefs were named Duncan MacTavish. Another picture of the graveyard and the kirk. Now this closure, these slabs have been put into an enclosure. Now they're all upright. These would have been laid flat on the ground on graves, but this is particularly in this area of the graveyard. And for some reason, for these, they built a enclosure around and took them from laying flat on the ground on top of the graves to leaning up. Now this is some intricate artwork done here. We see where my cursor is the claymore, this very large broadsword, and over here is a slab of a Gallaglass knight holding his claymore, or has his claymore attached to him. But look at the length of this. You know, claymore from hilt and handle all the way to the tip. So this guy probably would have been about 5 foot, say 9, 5'10", and this is over half of him. So this sword is closing in on 4 foot, being wielded by a guy that was, you know, possibly between 5'8" and 5'10", maybe 6 foot. And then you have all this intricate Celtic Pictish artwork and knots and symbolisms on all of these gravestones. The Gallic Great and the Good. Medieval warriors and clergymen had decorated slabs made to cover their graves. The elaborate decorations reveal many symbols of status. The stones are arranged in order of probable date, starting with the 1200s at the right of the doorway and finishing with the early 1700s on the left. The stones are dominated by image of celebrated West Highland warrior castle. Effigies carry spears and swords and are protected by quilted coats, iron helmets, and mail coffers, the head covers. One may belong to Sir Colin Campbell of Glenorchy, the founder of one of the Scotland's most predominant dynasties. So there you have it. It's pretty cool. Now this is MacTavish written across the chest of this guy right here. and it's assumedly the slab stone for the MacTavish warrior. Here's a couple of more showing the claymores, broadswords, and look at this. Here's a claymore with these Pictish Celtic knots around it. This is one that has a lion and some kind of crow, perhaps. And then you have in the middle, at the very top, is one of these medieval soldiers. There's another one of the MacTavish slab. And this is just the enclosure. So like I said, this graveyard's full of Campbells and MacTavishes. And it shows really that how integrated these two clans were. I mean, they were clans that were practically next door to each other in Argyll. There's another shot of the church with these magnificent slabs. There I am. This is back when I had the Norse Gael beard going on. And this is the backside of the cemetery, out looking toward the road. This road goes like toward Kilmichael, Glassary, back toward like the Crinan Canal and Knapdale. This is going into the Kilmartin grave slabs. This is the outside of that building that we were in earlier. This is, like I said, it's a burial for the Gaelic warrior culture that dominated the West Highlands in the Middle Ages. And there is an ancestor. This slab was from roughly around the 1200s. It was a effigy for a MacTavish knight. And you see MacTavish carved in across the chest. And look, there I am. So, I'm roughly around 6 foot, and this sword, which is close to lifelike, look at this sword next to me. I mean, it would have been from here all the way to the ground. You know, that's a large claymore. Up close. And this is going inside the kirk. And that's in front of the kirk. This is another picture of the Kilmartin kirk. And they still actually have service here. The one cool thing about inside this church is there's 3 medieval stone crosses that are over 1,000 years old. And even though the church was built in the Victorian age, it was rebuilt on a church that was there from probably the 1300s, maybe even before that, all the way to like maybe even the 800s. So that's pretty incredible to walk in and look at these Kilmartin crosses firsthand. So this is inside the church, and at the front you can see the stones in question. And there's one. Most of the cross is missing as far as like the sides of the cross, but you can see this crucifix was carved in the 1200s. It's a robed Christ sitting with arms raised to show his wounds. And the smaller one was from about the 1400s. And here's just more pictures. And you can see the intricate Pictish Celtic carvings on the backside of it. But this one is built sometime in the 900s. And it was lined in the churchyard in 1860, and then they, re-erected it. But it's incredible that over 1,100-year-old cross, and that's this one right here. And this is just other shots of the church. And there's me standing behind or beside the 1100-year-old cross. And there's the other one. Some more pictures of me in the kirk. The church looks small on the outside, but once you go inside, it's actually a lot larger than you would think. Back outside the church, walking around. And these are just different MacTavish graves. You see a lot of Dougal, Duncan, and Donald MacTavish graves. Very common first name. And there's a shot of the Kilmartin Hotel. Very nice hotel. And like I said, this is the farmland. They have like cattle and horses grazing out from behind the cemetery. Once again, another little shot of Kilmartin. Not a very big village, very small, but it's very cozy, and just you feel at home. Now this is the Crinan Canal. The importance about Crinan Canal is that MacTavish Castle, now the foundation of it, lays at the bottom of this canal. And this goes all the way out to the sea, to the Hebridean Sea, or the Sea of the Hebrides. And then you have the picture of the forest, the infamous Knapdale forest. Now this is close to where the castle would be. This is an old croft house, and the castle is right up underneath the Crinan Canal, on the other side of this bank. So when they drained this a couple of years ago, you could actually see the foundation of the old tower house. And this would be a croft house that would be found on the same property. Probably not as old as the castle itself, but probably these structures were in the area when the castle itself stood before it came down in the 1800s. And there's the Crinan Canal. It would have been amazing to have MacTavish Castle still standing, but unfortunately this land was sold, I think, by Lachlan MacTavish. He was the son of the last clan chief owners of this area. Unfortunately, they would build a canal right through it, tear down the castle, and so forth. So this is probably the oldest structure still standing in the vicinity. It's a fireplace of a probably an old croft house or something. There's me standing alongside the Crinan Canal. And there's some more structures that would be partially under the waters of the Crinan Canal. Now the Crinan Canal is a series of locks that you could actually travel up into Argyll from the ocean. Here is another church. This is in Kilmichael, Glassary. And just like the church in Kilmartin, this kirk has a burial ground full of MacTavishes. And it's still in service as well. Now, I've been inside this church before, but this particular visit, it was locked. So there's not going to be any pictures from the inside. There's a Celtic cross found at the very front of the church. But as you see, there's lots of Campbells and McDougals here. Here's a slab. Lots of slabs, especially with this kind of crossbone, skull and crossbone. And here's a Lachlan MacTavish married to a Mary Campbell. Here's another Dougal MacTavish. And here's Alexander MacTavish, and as you can see, it's spelled M-A-C-T-A-V-I-S-H. So in the same graveyard, you'll see the M-C, the M-A-C, And also you'll see the TAMACTARCA. So you'll see the C sometimes substituted for the T. Here's another Dougal MacTavish. Like I said, Dougal and Duncan, very common names for the MacTavish men. And like I said, all of these are MacTavish graves. This is a Laughlin MacTavish married to a Margaret MacArthur. And here's a nice picture of the kirk. And sad, these slabs, if you see that are covered with the moss and the grass. I mean, there's several throughout this graveyard. And that's, you know, talking about putting enclosures over slabs. Aesthetically is not very appealing, but you would save a lot of these graves, the identity and the craftsmanship of the slabs, symbols, and everything else. But unfortunately, these are probably ruined. You can see this right here in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. One that's above the ground. The other one is just basically just eroded away into the ground. We won't know who that grave is ever. It's lost to history, and more than likely a MacTavish. And showing some of these slabs. You can see the claymores. I think all of these actually have claymores on them. But they're becoming almost unrecognizable now because of the erosion and grass and weather. This is a Donald Campbell. On this beautiful, this is a smaller Celtic cross. This is probably about only 6 foot, but just the artwork, this Pictish Gaelic artwork on it is quite incredible. Here's me standing by it. I said it was smaller, 6 feet. It's probably closer to 7 feet. This is a MacGregor, Duncan MacGregor, married to a Sinclair. Here's the front of the church. It's incredible because most of the graves, I mean, there's so many graves. You look at these graves standing right behind me. Most of the graves are now eroded and are gone forever. I don't know in this particular church if there's a registry within the parish to show every grave and who's buried there. Like it is here in the States in most churches. So even if the grave erodes, the gravestone goes away, you'll know. I'm not sure how far back it goes in these old kirks here in the west of Scotland. But hopefully they have something that shows who's plotted, who's buried there. I mean, because some of these graves go back over 1,000 years. And you see more of these slabs. A lot of these slabs have claymores and effigies of Norse Gael knights, these medieval knights and Celtic crosses and Pictish symbols. I do know one thing is that they actually redid the door. So this is a new door in the church from previous visits. Knowing that your ancestor lies underneath these slabs is quite incredible. This is a member of your family, and if you were alive around this time, you would belong to this family. Here's Alexander MacTavish's slab. Notice it's MAC. It's not been abbreviated to MC. If you look down at my feet in this photograph, you'll see another MacTavish grave that I saw an edge of, and I tore back the grass, and look, there's a slab, and actually in very good condition. It's Archibald MacTavish. But, you know, if you didn't, you would never even known that just walking around. I just saw, I believe I felt it with my foot, like a rock sticking up somewhere. And it ended up being that gravestone. And so I peeled it back. Just more up close shots of the gravestones. And most of these gravestones that I'm looking at are from like the 16 and 1700s, and a few in the 1800s. I don't think I found any that was in the 20th century. I think everything was, for the most part, mid to early 1800s, all the way back to the 1500s. And this is the door they must have replaced, because obviously it's quite new. Now, across from the church, you go down the road a little bit, across from the church, up on the hill, you'll see these, what they call pickish rings that were carved into this large slab of stone. Unfortunately, when it's wet, very wet, you don't really get to see it as much because the water kind of distorts what you're looking at. But this is called the Kilmichael Glassary rock art. This is very, very old. This is well before, they think this was created around 2800 to 3000 BC, so about 4900 years ago, 5000 years ago. And this would be people that were well before Scotland or Dalriada or the Norse Gaels or anything else would have even been thought of. So this is the people that are originally in Caledonia or whatever you want to call the north of Britain before it was Scotland, Alba, Pictland. So this is very, very, very old. And these are people that had came in, you know, probably right before the Bronze Age or right during the Bronze Age. So these are probably still a Celtic people, or I'm sorry, Proto-Celtic people that were kin to the Iron Age Celts that would bring in the language and everything else later. This is fascinating. Whatever this symbolic ritual meaning to this was pretty incredible. You could see kind of the snake symbols, a lot of ancient symbols that you'll find predating the Picts and the Gaels in Scotland. This is overlooking Kilmichael Glassary. This is the school there. There's the kirk. Just a small little sleepy village. I love these little sleepy villages. Just like here in the States, I love little sleepy villages and towns. Kind of reminds me of being home. You know, I grew up most of my life in small little towns. Dalriada. It shows you a map and Dunadd, the infamous fort. Dunadd is the seat of the kings. It's one of the most important sites in Scottish and Irish history, sitting proud in the raised bog. It was chosen as the royal capital of the earliest Scottish kingdom, home of Dalriada. If I don't pronounce things right, hey, that's what happens when you're a Texan of Scottish and Irish ancestry. So this is Dunadd Fort. This would be the earliest, one of the earliest settings of the power base and royalty found within Argyll and Dalriada. Now, Dalriada, or Dalriada, as some would say. Let me pronounce it right. Dalriada Kingdom there in Argyll. This is. We don't know for a fact if it started in Ireland or if it started in the west of Scotland. But what we do know is at one time there was a kingdom of Dalriada, and it was found in what is Antrim and Ulster over in Ireland, and it was found on the west coast of Scotland, possibly through Argyll and a lot of the Hebrides. And this kingdom would eventually just be located in Scotland after many generations. And the MacTavishes would originally come from Donegal over in Ulster, in Ireland, and probably early on would be integrated into this society and to be the clan and the chief of the clan of Dunardry, which means the seat of the High King. And their castle is literally, it's really not even 5 miles from Dunadd Fort, right across the bog. And so these people, the people of Tavish, his family, Colm Malmouth's family, were descendants of the Boer Kings, found in Donegal over in Ireland, in Ulster. So this is the beginning of it. There's like a parking lot that you can park, and then you can walk up to Dunadd. And we're about to see the pictures. Look at me at the ancient monument of Dunadd Fort. Now, this is kind of redundant because Dun actually means rock or fortress. So this is almost like saying fortress fort in a way. Fáilte Dunadd was welcome to Dunadd. And this gives you this overview look of it. So we're parked. The parking lot is like right in here. You can park. So this is from Kilmichael Glassary. You would drive and turn down this road. End up right here. You park in this parking lot, and then right across from it, you walk up to Dunadd. Now this fort was probably used by people before the Irish Scots, the Irish Gaels arrived. But the Irish Gaels probably showed up sometime anywhere from 200 to 400 and began using this fort. And this was the royal, seat for the Dalradian kingdom here in Argyll. This was an artist's rendition of what it would look like. You see the walls. These walls are still here too. If you walk around this rock outpost, you can see these walls still intact. The lower parts of the foundations and spots. This would be the tower, round tower, stone tower. That's very reminiscent of the the Gaelic culture of this time period. And you could see in all, this is a perfect spot because you can see in all directions as far as the eye can see. And then you would have the village or the royal establishment within the walls. It says the kingdoms of Dalradia ruled their kingdom from Dunadd. Their descendants became the first kings of Scotland, and their people, called Scopti, became the first Scots. The language of the Gaels came to dominate much of Scotland. Gaelic is still spoken today, although its use has declined significantly. So there's a lot of different things to where who were these people. They were obviously part of the Ulster Irish. There was Picts in Ireland already, and these Picts probably were akin to the Picts that were found in Scotland. So these cultures had been back and forth over the Irish Sea, the Sea of the Hebrides, probably for a millennium. This is walking up into Dunadd Fort. And once you get into it, then you see at the very top right here, you would see the where the round stone tower would have been. It's much larger than what it looks in pictures. This is looking back down the trail. So, you know, once you get up there, you're at the bottom or from a distance and you see it, because you can see it from pretty far out. It just looks like this small little hill. But once you get there, you see that it is much larger and much more powerful and majestic than what you would have imagined. And these are just shots around that you can take a look at. But you have a really good, clear view around this whole area of Argyll. You can even see, like I said, out in the distance, you can see this is the waterways of the Sea of the Hebrides. So you're looking at the actual ocean. And this is a round thing. This has something to do with ceremonial. Placing a cup there, but it is artificially, it's man-made. And you'll see there's footprints that carved out, and different things throughout Dunn that are carved in stone that was used probably in some type of ceremonial purpose. And this is the seat of Dunadd. This is where, if you look at the clan MacTavish's name, and there are clan MacTavish of Dunardry. Well, Dunardry, as I said, means the place or the fort of the High King. Well, this is the seat of the High King. And when you're in this seat and you look around in any direction, you see the whole countryside. And you have this feeling that you're actually there. And you're a Dalradian, you know, you're one of these Irish Scots that came over in the 2nd or 3rd century. Like I said, you can see where the cursor is. This is part of a structure on top of this crag, and this is the boggy land, very marshy land. There I am standing as a king of Dalradia. Here's a closer look at the rocks that are stacked up. And you can see more of all these stones right here would have been part of this wall system going around. And this is what they call the seat of the High Kings, and it would have been located within this circle, and you actually can sit here. Looks like a lounge seat. And look, there I am, proclaiming my right as the descendant of the kings of Dalradia, of Dalriada. And there's me without the sunglasses, looking very professional as the king of Dalradia. And then the sunglasses go back on, and then the sunglasses go back off. I thought this was a very interesting rock outcrop, because you see the mountains in the distance, and the ocean in the distance, the sea in the distance. This is me standing in the very highest point of Dunadd, and then I'm conjuring up the spirits of my ancestors. Like I said, just more shots of Dunadd. And here's, like I said, there's all throughout Dunadd. You can see the rocks. And I can't remember what this was. This might have been some type of hole in the ground for a fire or holding something, maybe water. And you can see this is not part of normal rock. This is normal rock as on this hill, but these rocks right here are not. They were part of the wall system going around, you know, this big piles of rocks around. Just imagining what this place would have looked like with all of its stones in place and walls and structures. It was probably a pretty impressive sight. And here's one of the foundations of the wall that still exists today. This kind of gives the archaeologists an idea and the artists an idea of how this kingdom of Dalriada looked at its height, what its, you know, this royal fort would have looked like. And then there's an edge of the wall. And some over the wall. See, I told you there was quite a bit of the wall still intact around. There I am along the trail, and then this is the descent back. And then there's the clan crest. Now I'm going to show you, if I can find it, and it may take a second to get back to the pictures. Well, let's see here. Now this is the, I wanted to just show you real quick the, I just wanted to show you real quick Castle Sween. And some of this other area. And my my PC's going really slow right now, so I apologize for this. Alright, maybe we can get it going. I think I got too many programs running, but here we go. So, without further ado, this is the Knapdale Forest. Now, the Clan MacTavish is from this area of Knapdale. They are known as the Lords of Knapdale, the Lords of Dunardry. Dunardry is in Knapdale, and it is part of Argyll. And then there's Dunardry. Here's a cool Celtic cross, and it has in memories of some McDougalls, some Greys, Campbells, Fletchers, and some other individuals. And here I am. And this is going toward Castle Sween. And then you see Castle Sween. Unfortunately, it's in a caravan park, practically, which really takes away from some of its aesthetics. But nevertheless, it's a magnificent structure. Now, the thing about this structure that makes it important is the fact that it is considered the oldest castle still standing in Scotland. And this castle was built by Sween the Red. He is supposedly of Irish ancestry, comes from Irish kings. They came into this area, or his family did, probably when the kingdom of Dalriada was still a kingdom, and then ended up, he himself married a Norse princess. I believe it was perhaps the daughter of the King of the Isles, or maybe even the daughter of the King of Dublin, the Norse kingdom in Ireland. But his daughter would be half Norse and half Gaelic. And this daughter would be married to Colm Malmouth, who produced a son called Tavish, and Tavish Core, and this Tavish would become the father of Clan MacTavish. And so this would have been Tavish's grandfather's castle. Castle Sween. It's a very well-preserved castle. It says it was abandoned. It says it was built in the late 1200s, so sometime in the late 1100s by Sween, ancestor of the McSweens. There were some towers that were added in the 4th and 15th century. But from 1262, the castle was held by the Stuart Earls, and then after a period in the hands of the MacDonald, Lords of the Isles, and then reverted to the crown when it was appointed to the Earl of Argyll, Colin Campbell. It was abandoned in 1645, so this castle was in use from the late 1100s to the mid-1600s. It was raining this day when we went. This is inside the castle yard, the courtyard of the castle. There's the well. I believe this was the kitchen. You have the bread oven still preserved. And these are probably different ovens for cooking different things, so you could have multiple things cooking at one time. There's the kitchen fireplace. Shana looks all too happy to get warm. That would have been a grindstone to grind, make flour and such. Grinding grain. This is Selakern's rotary kern used for grinding grain. As you can see in the pictures that it is raining, so a lot of this looks very foggy, misty. This is just a magnificent kitchen. This is a huge kitchen. I mean, you could cook enough food for, 100 people easily within, in a couple of hours in this huge kitchen. This is the outside wall, and look at this dangerous prisoner looking out the tower wall. This is Loch Sween. The princess in the tower. Unfortunately, it would start raining very, very hard, so I tried to get as many good pictures as I can. I don't know if I have any pictures older than this from a different time, but this particular time it was raining. This is kind of the showing the changes over the centuries. This is the latrine. So this is where you would take your bathroom breaks. Another picture of the inward part of it. Another one from the outside. Always like taking pictures from outside of it, from the side of the castle looking out, because this is what the castle owner and his family would have seen in the workers and everybody else. And this castle is set up on top of this rock on this hill, and they have a very good view of the surrounding countryside. They are the highest point of advantage, and they could see people coming and going through the waterway located next to the castle. And it would probably be their main means of transportation would be the waterway if they were going to go somewhere of great distance. And this is actually up in the tower. And just incredible that this castle was built in the 1100s. Probably not long after David arrived and became king of Scotland and brought in the Normans, which of course would bring in Robert the Bruce. Here I am in my rain gear, looking ridiculous. And the incredible thing is that you really can walk all around this castle, up through the castle and the walls, into some of the towers. So it's very accessible. And, what remains is in pretty good shape. You can kind of see, if you look right here in the center of the picture, this arch, what you're seeing is the rough underneath of the castle. So if you look at this layer right here, you can see it's much more smooth. Okay, this is probably what the castle would have looked like. We see the edge and the smoothness. But underneath all this rickety stuff is just where it's fell. So it doesn't look smooth anymore because this is just the depth, the inner makings of the castle. As you see, the walls of the castle were a good probably 8 feet thick in some spots. And here's just a welcoming thing. It says, "Welcome to Castle Sween." So this is what the castle would have looked like. Castle Sween is thought to be one of the earliest surviving stone castles on the Scottish mainland. The castle was built in the late 1100s, possibly by Sween, the ancestor of the McSweens. Sween is one of the number of independent Gaelic Norse lords who ruled the rugged coast of Argyll. During the 13th century, the Scottish kingdom aggressively expanded the control westwards into Argyll. By 1262, the McSweens had lost their castle to the Stuart Earls of Menteith, based in lowland Scotland. In 1376, this castle was granted to John MacDonald, the Lord of the Isles. He appointed a succession of keepers, including the McNeils and the Macmillans, but when the Lords of the Isles lost their power in the 15th century, Castle Sween was forfeited to King James III, who gave it to the Campbells, Earl of Argyll. And then if you want to read it in Scottish Gaelic, you can. But this is the rendition of, as I said before, most of the goods coming in the castle and transportation would be through the lock. It would be through the lock, and there would probably be some type of village close by or a community. But what makes this important to me is that Sween is the ancestral grandfather of Tavish, who was the first of the line of the MacTavishes, from whence the clan came from. As you can see, it was starting to rain heavily there, and this is on through some other shots around the area. This was back in Kilmichael Glassary and Kilmichael Glen. And this is what I told you. This is Dunadd Fort. From a distance, it doesn't look like much, but it is. Once you get up there, you saw the pictures. It's quite, rather large. This is another castle. I don't know if it's Kilchurn Castle, maybe. We were on our way to Oban. Just a sign showing where we were actually at. And then we're in Oban. And this would be an area where I was like, look, there's my grandfather. So there you have it. I've taken you on this tour around Argyll, around the Kilmartin, Kilmichael Glassary area. It's in Knapdale, Dunardry. Seen the graves of the MacTavish, the Campbells and the McDougals. And then we went on through and looked at Dunadd Fort, which was the power base of the Kingdom of Dunardry. And then we went on down to the Castle Sween on Loch Sween, the grandfather of Tavish, the founder of Clan MacTavish. So you have it. This is from a trip, the last trip over in that region, I believe back in 2017, 2018. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Can't wait to get back. Until next time, keep looking at your family's history and exploring and learning more about who you and your family really are. God bless.